My husband is the most handsome man in the capital and the emperor's most beloved youngest son. He cares not for power, nor indulges in wine or women. His only hobby is spoiling me. He has pampered me into becoming the most envied woman in all the capital. It is widely said, to have a daughter, one should wish for Song Wanxin; to marry, one should wed the Prince of An. Yet though I am the illustrious Princess of An, Song Wanxin, I carry a secret as heavy as a mountain, Song Wanxin. That was actually my younger sister's name. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. At the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet, I secretly observed the new top scholar for a long time. TSK, he's really handsome. Amidst the revelry and music of the feast, his solemn and upright posture made him look like an untainted immortal descended to earth, especially when the maidservants leaned close to him with coy smiles to pour wine. The way he blushed and brushed his sleeves aside to avoid impropriety was utterly adorable. No wonder he could make the capital's most beautiful woman fall head over heels for him. I couldn't help but curl my lips into a smile. My cheek was suddenly pinched. Who else but my jealous husband? His Highness Prince An would do something so outrageous. I quickly pushed his hand away. Father hasn't left the banquet yet. Stop fooling around. But he persisted relentlessly. Could this top scholar Shu possibly be more charming than your prince? You've completely lost your soul staring at him. How could that be? He's not even 1/10 the man my husband is. His face remained dark with anger. 1/10. I looked at him and smiled sweetly. Not even worthy to compare with my husband's little toe. Is that good enough for you? Only then did his brow unfurl as he peeled a grape and popped it into my mouth. Such sweet words from my darling. Tonight I'll reward you properly. Then he nibbled my ear and whispered. The whole night through, my face flushed crimson as I gave him a playful punch. The princess sitting across from us suddenly smiled. The number one beauty of the capital is truly remarkable. To make my cold-natured ninth brother become so gentle and considerate, I'm afraid no one else in this world could achieve such a feat. Hearing this, I instinctively tensed up. The number one beauty of the capital, that wasn't me, it was my sister, Song Wanxin. That's right, I'm an imposter. For 2 full years now, I have been married to Prince An, Chu Qing, bearing the name Song Wanxin, and Chu Qing's adoration for Song Wanxin has been a well-known romantic tale among common folk for over a decade. After all, the union between the most handsome man and the most beautiful woman was destined to be a match made in heaven. Song Wanxin, the Prime Minister's legitimate daughter, was blessed with both exceptional beauty and remarkable talent. And I, Song Xiaoyu, am merely an illegitimate daughter hidden away in the firewood courtyard of the Prime Minister's residence, unworthy of sunlight, only because I bore an uncanny resemblance to Song Wanxin, like a twin. Was I dragged out from the firewood courtyard the year Prince An came to propose marriage to her? The Prime Minister forced me to mimic Song Wanxin's every smile and gesture, practicing day and night for 6 whole months, before sending me in her stead to marry into Prince An's household. The reason for this substitution was laughable. Song Wanxin had heard Prince An was going off to war and feared becoming a widow. Moreover, she had never liked men who were more dominant than her since childhood. She only favored those who fawned over her, as that fulfilled her lofty princess fantasy. That's why she was desperate to marry Xu Yangshu, a protégé of the Prime Minister's household, who obeyed her every whim. Yet my father, the Prime Minister, who was originally more cunning than a fox, doted on Song Wanxin to the point of losing all reason. He knew full well that deceiving the Prince of An with a substitute bride was a capital offense if exposed. Yet he still took the reckless risk. What about me? Of course I got a treasure for free. Prince An was practically the apple of the emperor's eye, given everything he wanted except the throne itself. Not to mention Prince An himself was tall and handsome, the dream lover of countless noble ladies in the capital. Yet apart from Song Wanxin, he couldn't take a fancy to any other woman. Despite being over 20, he stubbornly refused to take even a single concubine or chambermaid, though during the first few months after marrying Chu Qing, I did live in constant fear. Unable to sleep at night, terrified he might discover my deception and have my head chopped off. But gradually, my fear faded away, because he was truly too good to me, too good, so good that it made me feel, even if the truth came out and he killed me, this life would have been worth it. Selfish as I am, My only wish is for Song Wanxin and Xu Yangshu to be blissfully in love for a lifetime. That way, I can peacefully grow old with Chu Qing, so tonight at the palace banquet. Seeing Xu Yangshu finally become the top scholar after years of arduous study and foreseeing his bright future, I was genuinely happy for him from the bottom of my heart. Little did I know the Grand Princess's next words would completely throw me into confusion. Father, you've been so focused on watching the ninth prince and Wanxin flaunt their affection, have you forgotten your daughter exists beyond the highest clouds? The Grand Princess, born to the Empress, was bold and spoiled. Never hesitating to speak or act as she pleased, the Emperor smiled and twirled his beard, following her gaze toward Xu Yangshu's direction. Haha, Enin's reminder is timely. Taking advantage of today's mid-autumn festive spirit, I shall announce another joyous occasion. Eunuch Zhao by the Emperor's side immediately raised his voice. Xu Yangshu, the newly appointed top scholar, received the imperial decree. My brow furrowed tightly. By the decree of heaven and the mandate of the Emperor. Our beloved daughter Chu Yin is virtuous and kind, beautiful in appearance and wise at heart, filial and commendable in all respects. Now, the newly crowned top scholar Xu Yangshu has scaled the heights of academic achievement, his learning vast as the 5 chariots, and his character noble and dignified. The two are truly a match made in heaven, a perfect pair of talented scholar and fair lady. Therefore, we decree that Xu Yangshu shall be appointed as the consort of the eldest princess. With the grand wedding to be held on an auspicious date, so it is decreed. Amidst the endless stream of congratulatory words from the crowd, I only felt a sudden darkness before my eyes. Suddenly, I saw Xu Yangshu refusing to accept the decree, kneeling to plead, though deeply honored by your majesty's favor. This humble official is truly unworthy of the eldest princess. I have already taken a wife in my hometown of Qingju. How could I dare to wrong the princess? I beg your majesty to reconsider. The emperor waved his hand dismissively with a smile. Yin is not a narrow-minded person. Since she has taken a liking to you, she won't make things difficult for your concubines. The unspoken implication was clear. Now that I'm betrothing the princess to you, all other women shall henceforth be mere concubines beneath her feet. I drew a sharp breath. With Song Wanxin's pampered and delicate nature, how could she possibly be content as a mere concubine? My wife and I met in humble circumstances, and she has shown me great kindness. I could never bear to break her heart. I beg your majesty. Before Xu Yangshu could finish speaking, though the emperor remained unperturbed, the grand princess slammed the table in anger. How dare you, Xu Yangshu? Enough with your evasive words. Do you look down on me for being older than you and a widow? The eldest princess was several years older than Xu Yangshu, and it was common knowledge that she had already lost 2 husbands in succession. Only then did Xu Yangshu turn his gaze to the eldest princess. This humble official dares not. I am but a lowly commoner, born of humble origins. His Majesty's excessive favor fills me with dread. I would never dare to taint the eldest princess or the imperial family. I beg your majesty and the eldest princess to reconsider. Enough of this pretentious nonsense. The eldest princess let out a cold laugh. Accept the decree properly now, and I might let this matter slide for the moment, but if you continue to be ungrateful and push me too far, I'll make you a widower by tomorrow, believe it or not. What a fine example of virtuous and gentle companionship. Xu Yangshu was utterly stunned, his lips parted, but not a single word came out. Seizing the opportunity, Eunuch Zhao thrust the imperial decree into his hands. The emperor laughed heartily. Very well, very well. Since Minister Xu has accepted the decree, we shall have the wedding date arranged as soon as possible. I endured the headache until the palace banquet finally concluded. In the carriage back to the residence, I clung tightly to Chu Qing, curling up in his arms and refusing to let go, terrified that if I loosened my grip, I would no longer be his princess and, from the moment I was born, no one ever treated me as a human being. Chu Qing was the first person who truly cared for me, loved me, and respected me. So, even though I knew full well that the one he cherished most in his heart wasn't me at all, I still fell into the role. I'm so scared. I'm afraid I might lose him, a night of passion. My unprecedented initiative drove Chu Qing nearly wild. Afterwards, as he held me close and kissed me with satisfaction, I whispered a question. His Majesty dotes on you the most, my lord. Could you speak a few words for Xu Yangshu tomorrow? As long as the emperor agrees, the grand princess won't trouble Xu Yangshu anymore. What does it matter to you whether Xu Yangshu becomes the princess's consort or not? Chu Qing cupped my face and pinched my nose. Have you really taken a fancy to him? Aren't you afraid I'll get angry? I knew too well how absurd and laughable this request was, but I want to make one last effort for myself. Husband, do you truly love me? Nonsense. Then what if the emperor insists on arranging a domineering principal wife for you, forcing me to bow my head in submission? How would you feel, and what would become of the rest of my life? Chu Qing remained silent. I leaned against his chest. I was merely moved by the moment and felt some sympathy. Moreover, Xu Yangshu knew full well that the emperor's will was hard to defy, yet he didn't curry favor with power. Instead, he dared to fight for his wife, which shows his upright character. If you can help him this time, husband, when he achieves great things in the future, his loyalty will surely lie with you, and he could become your right-hand man. After a moment's thought, Chu Qing kissed me and smiled. You're too kind-hearted, always thinking of me. As you wish, I'll go see Father Emperor first thing tomorrow. My anxious heart finally settled somewhat. The emperor had never refused any of Chu Qing's requests before. I hoped this time would be no different. Early the next morning, I saw him off at the manor gates. Having already mounted the carriage, he suddenly stepped down again to feel my forehead, then carefully tightened my outer robe for me. You kept talking in your sleep all through the latter half of the night. Drenched in cold sweat, you're always like this before catching a chill. I've summoned the imperial physician to examine you. The autumn nights are heavy with dew, so it's best to be cautious. Don't go wandering about today. Be good and wait for the physician to arrive. In the past, I would have cheerfully agreed with him. I always thought there would be plenty of time. But today, my eyes welled up with tears. No one has ever been this kind to me. Never. Chu Qing smiled as she wiped the corner of my eye, then gently tapped my nose. My little delicate one, I'll return as soon as I can. All right, I'll wait for you. I obediently went back to my room and waited dutifully for the imperial physician. Who would have thought that instead of the imperial physician, people from the Prime Minister's residence arrived? At the Prime Minister's residence, I met Song Wanxin, whom I hadn't seen in 2 years. As arrogant as ever, she looked me up and down before saying disdainfully, Song Xiaoyu, it seems you've lived quite well as the Princess these past 2 years. You've even gained some glow. But from now on, the Prince is mine. We're switching back. My heart ached fiercely, actually. Xu Yangshu spent all last night fighting for you. Song Wanxin flew into a rage and angrily cut me off. What's the use of fighting? Would he dare defy the imperial decree and refuse to marry? Besides, the Grand Princess and I have never gotten along. The more he advocates for me, the deeper that old witch's hatred for me grows. Father loved mother so much, yet he still had a bastard child with someone else. If Xu Yangshu marries the eldest princess, will there still be room for me in his eyes? I, this wretched bastard, remained silent, watching her with a pale face. After venting her anger, she turned to me and ordered, Song Xiaoyu, ever since Princeton was in his teens, his eyes and heart have been set on me alone. It's common knowledge that I was the one he sought to marry. I've heard that in the past 2 years, he hasn't even taken a concubine. Such is his devotion to me. Now, the position of princess and should rightfully return to its original owner. As for you, go deal with that old hag Xu Yangshu. Yes, Chu Qing never loved me in the first place. Just this one sentence was enough to shatter my heart. I asked hoarsely, if the emperor were to retract his decree and allow Xu Yangshu to avoid marrying the princess, what would you do? Song Wanxin proudly lifted her chin, her beautiful almond-shaped eyes rolling in disdain. All I want now is to return to being the beloved princess of An. Even if I have to become a widow in the future, I'll accept it. Seeing that I remained silent for a long time, she flung my hand away angrily and said, Song Xiaoyu, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. If you refuse to change your mind, I'll have father sell your mother to a brothel, disfigure your face, and marry you off to the Zhong butcher brothers in Qingju countryside. Those Zhong brothers, about father's age, remain bachelors due to their hideous looks. They're willing to share a wife to continue the Zhong family line. My face grew increasingly pale. I believe if I showed even the slightest resistance, my chancellor father and dear sister would not hesitate to do it. Song Wanxin paused for a moment, then took my hand again. Dear sister, I truly can't bear to see you and your mother end up in such a state, and rest assured, Xu Yangshu will treat you well for my sake. With that old witch supporting him, he'll never want for food or drink his whole life. I've found you a good match. After all, naturally, I'll also look after your mother to set your mind at ease. Sister, you mustn't do anything foolish now. Song Wanxin's buzzing voice made my head throb with pain, my nails digging deep into my palms. I can switch back. But I won't go to Xu Yangshu for now. I want to return to Anwang Mansion with you. Song Wanxin's eyes widened. What do you mean by that? By the time Song Wanxin and I returned to Anwang Mansion, it was already dusk, but now sitting in the carriage that once belonged exclusively to me was Song Wanxin. As for me, I was disguised in men's clothing. As one of the two accompanying servants from the Prime Minister's residence, I jogged along behind the carriage. I'd rather die than become Xu Yangshu's concubine, yet I couldn't even escape if I tried. My mother's life is in their hands. I had no choice but to find an excuse to buy some time. I said that since she was new to the manor and unfamiliar with everything, having me by her side would prevent her from making mistakes. After discussing with her father for an hour, they finally agreed to my suggestion. Entering the prince's residence, from afar, I spotted Chu Qing at first glance as he came out to greet us. I halted my steps, instinctively turning my gaze toward him. He was striding briskly toward the carriage, gently raising his hand to carefully assist Song Wanxin as she alighted. Song Wanxin immediately threw herself into his embrace. Clinging to him tightly, Chu Qing froze for a moment. Soon, a soft smile spread across his refined brows and eyes. Father-in-law said you rushed back to the Chancellor's residence the moment you heard your stepmother was ill, without even considering your own health. Oh, Shina, what am I to do with you? Song Wanxin gazed at him with misty eyes. Stepmother treated me exceptionally well when I was young. In my heart, she's as important as my own mother. Chu Qing comfortingly stroked her back. Don't worry, I've already sent the imperial physician over. As he spoke, he wrapped his arm around Song Wanxin and guided her inside. Regarding the marriage arrangement, I hadn't yet had the chance to mention it to His Majesty when your father stopped me. It wouldn't have been proper to disregard his wishes, so I came back first to let you know. At these words, I trembled slightly, my steps faltering for a moment. Just listen to Song Wanxin's coquettish voice saying, Father already scolded me after returning home, saying I've been taking advantage of your favor all day and recklessly causing you trouble. How could revoking the Emperor's decree be treated as child's play? After Father's reprimand, I realized I was indeed too rash. Top scholar Xu and eldest sister have their own fate as outsiders. We really shouldn't meddle unnecessarily. Chu Qing looked at her for a moment, slightly taken aback, then he laughed and said, Is this the first time you've called her eldest sister? Did father-in-law's scolding teach you manners? Song Wanxin's smile froze for an instant before she lowered her head, her face flushing with shyness. You just know how to tease me. I'm ignoring you. Chu Qing immediately pulled her close with affection. Fine then, we won't bother with them anyway, saves me the trouble. My heart sank to the depths. That was the thing I had pinned all my hopes on. Seeing Song Wanxin remain silent, Chu Qing affectionately tapped her nose. What are you thinking about? Suddenly, Song Wanxin stood on tiptoe and whispered something in his ear. Chu Qing's smile widened as they intertwined their fingers and walked away hand in hand. I watched their affectionate figures receding, my feet rooted to the ground as if nailed there, unable to move. My heart ached with a dense, piercing pain. Yet who could I possibly blame for all this? If anyone's to blame, it's myself for letting my heart be swayed, for coveting what wasn't mine, for foolishly imagining that Chu Qing might love me, love Song Xiaoyu who had been by his side day and night these past 2 years. But I'd forgotten, Chu Qing had always loved Song Wanxin from the very beginning. No matter how she looked, he loved her all the same. How laughable and pitiful, from start to finish. It was only me. As night fell, I simply couldn't sleep. As if possessed, I found myself standing before their door. The night was quiet, the gentle moonlight streamed through the window lattice, casting their embracing figures in such beautiful silhouettes, so painfully dazzling. I bent over, clutching tightly at my chest where the heart lay. There seemed to be a hole gouged out by a knife, whistling with cold wind. She knew perfectly well the person Chu Qing had been longing for was none other than her. Yet I ached as if dying. I don't know how I stumbled back to the woodshed, reaching up to wipe my face. I found it wet with tears, early the next morning. As I was mechanically chopping firewood, Song Wanshin suddenly called me aside where no one could hear us. "Thank goodness, father, and I took your advice and brought you back to the prince's residence. I've run into trouble after all. What happened?" My voice, hoarse from the cold, rasped like a broken bellows. About that." Song Wanshin stammered, covering half her face. "What does Princeton like you to do during that time? Or does he have any particular preferences?" I froze. Seeing that I remained silent, Song Wanshin gave me a push. "Come on, don't hide it from me. I'm dying of anxiety. Last night I went to great lengths to please him, but he actually had no reaction. I'm the renowned #1 beauty of the capital. Xu Yangshu has always been head over heels for me, but Princeton, he actually..." Song Wanshin stamped her foot in frustration. "He actually wrapped my clothes back around me and told me to go to sleep as soon as possible. What an utter humiliation." My clenched fingers gradually relaxed. "Tell me the truth. Does he have some hidden illness?" I shook my head. "He has no hidden illness. It's probably just that official business has been weighing on him lately, leaving him no mind for indulgence." Song Wanshin let out a sigh of relief. "That's good. As long as he's normal, that's fine. But I won't tell her that the busier Chu Qing gets with work, the more he clings to me. He always says with a smile that only I can relieve his stress. As for the intimate privacy between us, there's absolutely no way I'd ever tell Song Wanshin. Only in the pitch-black night can I completely, with my own body and emotions as Song Xiaoyu, love him with peace of mind, and be deeply loved by him in return." Seeing her about to leave, I quickly grabbed hold of her. "Once autumn arrives, he tends to cough easily. Remember to stew him a bowl of pear water every day and remind him to drink it." Got it. Also, he developed stomach chills from campaigning in the northern regions in his early years. Now that the weather's turned cold, you must remind him to wear his abdominal protector before going out each day. All right. He dislikes sweets, so don't arrange meals just to suit your own tastes, or else. "Oh, enough already." Song Wanshin impatiently shook me off. "These are all tasks for servants. After serving for so many years, do they still not know their master's habits and preferences? I'm the princess consort, you know. Did you think I'm like you, some lowly servant accustomed to handling all these trivial chores?" I stared at her without blinking. "Even now, you still don't love him. What you love is only the title of princess consortan, isn't it?" Song Wanshin couldn't answer, suddenly widening her almond-shaped eyes in surprise. "Song Xiaoyu, don't tell me you've fallen for Princeton." I hardened my heart. "I think it's unfair to him for us to keep switching like this. We should give him the right to choose." "Choice? Haha, you're talking to me about choice." Song Wanshin laughed uncontrollably. "Are you out of your mind, Song Xiaoyu? Never mind that he's adored me for over a decade. Just consider his noble status. Do you really think he'd pass over the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister, his perfect social match, to choose some lowly servant? Besides, when the time comes, father will simply say I was gravely ill, and that you, coveting a life of luxury, deceived everyone by taking my place in the marriage. Do you think Princeton will spare you when he learns he didn't marry his beloved but was instead tricked by a servant for 2 years? He might not even leave your body intact." Each word cut like a knife, each sentence flayed the heart. Yes. How could lowly weeds ever be worthy of dazzling stars? I staggered and barely managed to steady myself against the woodpile behind me to avoid falling. She leaned in close to my ear again. "Father told me yesterday, if you show any disloyalty, I'm to kill you at once under the pretext of punishing a disobedient servant, cutting off all future trouble, and your mother too, if you don't obey. She'll die an even more miserable death. Father has always been decisive. Think carefully. My poor mother. I've at least had 2 years of being cherished, but my mother never had a single good day. She gave birth to me and raised me. How could I bear to let her die humiliated and abused? Resign yourself to fate. This is my destiny." I bit my lips so hard that blood trickled down the corner of my mouth. Suddenly, a soft call came from outside. "Shina, why did you run here?" It was Chu Qing. Both Song Wanshin and I were startled. I haphazardly wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth. Song Wanshin, like a startled rabbit, hurried out and threw herself directly into Chu Qing's embrace. What a coincidence. The servant I brought yesterday caught a cold, so I came to check on him. Chu Qing smiled tenderly. Shina is always so kind to everyone. Ah, Song Wanxin, truly brilliant, you've used me to the fullest extent. I lowered my head to greet him. Greetings, Your Highness. A moment of silence fell, when suddenly Chu Qing started walking toward me, and Song Wanxin hurriedly grabbed his arm. This is no place for you, let's leave quickly. Chu Qing paused briefly, then gently pushed her away and raised his hand to grip my chin. I kept my eyes tightly downcast, not daring to meet Chu Qing's gaze. I'm afraid of seeing disgust and disdain in his eyes. What are you trembling for? Is this prince so terrifying? Chu Qing's voice, icy and distant, slowly descended upon me from above. I clenched my fists, struggling to steady my trembling. I've caught a chill. Please forgive this lowly one, Your Highness, perhaps because my voice sounded too unpleasant. Chu Qing's large hand gradually loosened its grip. Since you're someone the princess brought here, focus on recovering first. No need to work for now. My gratitude, Your Highness. Chu Qing and Song Wanxin walked away hand in hand, watching their retreating figures. My heart felt as if pierced by countless sharp nails. Throbbing with pain, I knew Chu Qing wouldn't recognize me. Song Wanxin had forced me to alter my appearance. His sallow, rough face was pockmarked all over, with even his eyelids drooping unattractively. Ever since they discovered I bore an identical resemblance to Song Wanxin, they forced me to wear this hideous face, enduring daily mockery, humiliation, and abuse for their amusement. Only when they needed to use me would they restore my appearance and make me impersonate Song Wanxin. It all began when I was 7 years old. Song Wanxin entered the palace to play and accidentally tore the beloved kite of the eldest princess. The willful Song Wanxin not only refused to apologize but also pushed the eldest princess. This act of insubordination caused a major uproar. In the end, it was my righteous and impartial chancellor father who dragged Song Wanxin before the emperor and personally administered 20 strokes of the cane. Every strike was meant to kill. They beat the frail young Song Wanxin until her flesh split open and she hovered on the brink of death. Only then did the matter conclude. Ah! But how could he bear to lay a hand on his precious daughter? The one he beat to within an inch of her life was, of course, me. But fate was kind, I didn't die. 2 years later, my chancellor father deliberately arranged for someone to shoot an arrow through Song Wanxin's chest during an outing on the Shaanxi festival, framing his political rival for sending assassins to attack his beloved daughter. He wept bitterly before the emperor, successfully tarnishing his opponent's reputation. His goal was perfectly achieved, and his beloved daughter remained unharmed. The one who nearly met the king of hell was, naturally, still me. Such incidents were far too numerous to count. Before I married into the prince's mansion at 15, life was ordinary. I was like a dog they kept, always ready to be dragged out and sent to die. Every time I clung to life by a thread, I truly wished for death. I thought, perhaps death might bring more happiness. What a pity. Even the king of hell probably finds my wretched life too despicable to take me in. I had no attachment to this world whatsoever until I became the princess of an. When the desperate wish to live a little longer ignited within me, yet Song Wanxin and her father are trying to push me back into the abyss. But, recalling all the past events, suddenly, I no longer wanted to resign myself to fate. With Prince's decree, I went to collect the medicine and returned to my room to recuperate. Against my ruthless and cunning chancellor father, I couldn't afford to be hasty. The strategy needed careful planning. First, I had to regain my health. But I hadn't even slept half an hour before Song Wanxin woke me up again. This time, she brought me a pile of high-quality medicine, especially the miraculous throat remedy, the little gold pills. Prince just insisted on taking me to the autumn hunt, but I can't even ride a horse properly, let alone shoot arrows. I'm bound to give myself away. Song Wanxin's brows knitted into a tight knot. Did you often go horseback riding and hunting in the past? I nodded. Although Chu Qing was deeply favored by the emperor, he was by no means a gentle and delicate character. Horseback riding, archery, wielding blades and spears, he had even fought valiantly on the northern frontier at the age of 17, amassing countless military achievements. Take your medicine quickly, especially to heal your throat as soon as possible. I've used feeling unwell as an excuse to postpone the autumn hunt for 3 days. You'll go in my place then. TCH. What a shame. If she had gone to the autumn hunt today, she would have been exposed on the spot. What would Chu Qing think then? I remained silent for a moment. And what about after that? I knew all too well, the delicate Song Wanxin would never agree to learn horseback riding or archery. Once, because the Grand Princess was unmatched in horse riding and archery among the noble ladies of the capital, Song Wanxin, who had always held a grudge against her, wanted to crush the Grand Princess's pride but refused to endure the hardship herself. Thus, I naturally became the pawn once again. I will never forget how my Chancellor father viciously threatened me if I couldn't defeat the Grand Princess and make his precious daughter unhappy, he would have my mother and me sliced to pieces, and so, I was brutally thrown off the wild horse time and again, yet forced back on with curses and blows. Covered in blood and tears, I fought desperately with the fiery steed. Meanwhile, Song Wanxin triumphantly went to provoke and declare war on the princess. In the end, I defeated the princess. But the arrogant and domineering princess couldn't accept defeat. She raised her whip and lashed it fiercely, again and again, upon my body. But I couldn't fight back, beaten until covered in wounds, unable to even move, then dragged back to the Prime Minister's residence like a dead dog, and from then on, Song Wanxin gained bragging rights among her little circle of friends. My thoughts returned, and I fixed my gaze on Song Wanxin's face. She smiled lightly, seemingly not at all worried about the upcoming horseback ride. Don't worry, there won't be a next time. After all, I can't let you stay in the prince's residence for too long, things might get complicated. Once this is over, I'll send you to Shu Yangshu immediately. Before leaving, she added one more sentence. Be a good girl and don't get any funny ideas. I heard your mother's madness has gotten worse lately, seems she's even started harming herself now. My knuckles cracked as I clenched my fists. The thought of my mother's face made my eyes burn with unshed tears. My mother was a madwoman, driven to insanity by them. When she's in a frenzy, she'd be just like those people, hitting and cursing me, blaming me for ruining her life, wishing death upon me. Yet when she's sober, she'd hold me and cry, pitying my wretched fate, saying I was born to the wrong womb, begging me not to hate her, just for that rare, fleeting warmth of being embraced by my mother. No matter how she treated me, I could never let go of her, so the first thing I did after marrying into the royal mansion was to use the excuse of caring for my stepmother to ensure my ailing mother could receive medicine prescribed by imperial physicians, live in a decent house, wear clean clothes, and have warm meals to eat. Though I desperately wanted to bring her to live with me, she was nominally just my stepmother, neither emotionally nor logically appropriate. What's more, she's completely deranged. If she were to let something slip, it would be an absolute disaster. So this is all I can do for mother. Now, the nightmare has returned. They're starting to pressure us mother and child again. Good, then we'll meet in 3 days. 3 days later, I've recovered. The weather was exceptionally clear and fine. After the court session, Chu Qing went straight to the hunting grounds. Meanwhile, in the prince's residence, Song Wanxin dismissed her attendants and had me quietly change back into the consort's attire. Noble as she was, she naturally wouldn't deign to dress in my ugly servant's disguise. She was exceptionally good at scheming. She had agreed with Chu Qing to return to the Prime Minister's residence for a banquet after the autumn hunt, but during the day, she secretly sneaked back and hid there. By the time we returned, while Chu Qing was waiting for me to freshen up and change clothes, she and I would naturally switch places without anyone noticing. I was at an absolute disadvantage now and had no choice but to follow their arrangements, take one step at a time and see how things unfold. When I arrived at the hunting grounds, Chu Qing had already been waiting for some time. The autumn wind howled, fluttering the hem of his robe. He stood with his hands behind his back, his expression cold and stern. The Grand Princess was right, though pitilessly handsome. His icy demeanor always sent chills down one's spine, but the moment he saw me, the iciness in his brows and eyes instantly melted into a soft, gentle smile. My throat tightened slightly. The gloom and pain that had weighed on my heart for days seemed to dissipate in an instant. He hurried toward me, and I flew into his arms. At last I could embrace this warmth again. I thought I'd never have the chance again. What's wrong, Shina? I felt something was off about you these past few days. Chu Qing lifted my face, his fingers gently wiping the reddened corners of my eyes. I quickly composed myself and smiled as I always had. Perhaps I've been unwell lately, having frequent nightmares, and poor sleep has left me in low spirits. As I spoke, I suddenly remembered something and hurriedly reached out to touch his abdomen. Chu Qing's breath hitched, and the arms holding me instantly tightened. His voice was slightly hoarse, carrying a hint of grievance. You haven't cared at all these past few days about whether I was wearing my abdominal protector, and now you're finally waking up to the cold wind. What kind of behavior is this? Groping around in public without any regard for propriety, feeling that he was wearing the protector. I let out a sigh of relief. Without minding his teasing, I looked seriously into his eyes. Qing, your body is your own. If in the future I forget to remind you, you must still take good care of yourself. Consider it as taking care of your body for my sake. Promise me, will you? Chu Qing stared at me. Then why would you want to forget? I'm just saying, what if? Could it be that you've grown tired of me, that I no longer occupy your thoughts? Have you truly taken a liking to those delicate, fair-skinned weaklings who can only prattle on with flowery words but would topple over with a mere gust of wind, utterly useless pretty boys? Chu Qing had always been sparing with words. Never before had she spoken such a long sentence in one breath, and this arrogant, conceited man who looks down on everyone was actually implying something about Shu Yangshu, with such strong sour grapes. I couldn't help but laugh. Fool, I pointed at my own chest. Here, you matter most, not even death will change that. I was clearly smiling, yet somehow, tears began to stream down my face. Chu Qing gazed at me quietly before lowering his head to kiss away my tears. Kissing me passionately, he suddenly swept me up in his arms and strode toward the nearby tent. Don't, Qing, all the guards are watching. Wait. The words "wait until tonight" reached the tip of my tongue, only to be forcefully swallowed back. Because when night comes, he would no longer be mine. I don't want him to touch Song Wanxin, not even the tiniest bit. Then, let's drain him dry. This is the first time we've ever done something so outrageous in the hunting grounds. At first, the autumn wind was gentle, but gradually it grew fierce, shaking the tents with increasing boldness. Outside the tents, the slender branches of a few willow trees, unable to bear the burden, fluttered wildly under the wind's assault, yet they seemed reluctant to break free from its embrace. Lost in its grip, cicadas, with their last strength, screeched amid the violent swaying, like weeping, like singing, until completely conquered and devoured by the autumn wind. Only a wisp of lingering grace remains, its aftertaste refusing to fade. Shina, I'm so happy. Chu Qing twirled a strand of my hair around her finger, her murmuring voice laced with soft laughter. To be honest, these past few nights, I thought I was done for. He paused, his handsome face actually showing a hint of embarrassment. Even though you were right in my arms, I just couldn't shake this strange feeling. I studied you carefully, from your brows to the corners of your mouth, every smile and frown. You were clearly my Shina. Yet my heart kept panicking, feeling like something was off about you, and about me too. Here, he pointed at himself with a bitter smile, useless as cotton stuffing, yet too afraid to let you notice. So I made excuses to keep you at a distance. Then he immediately composed himself to save face. It must be because I've been too exhausted lately. His Majesty has entrusted me with many tasks, draining my energy and wearying my mind. The usually stern and icy prince and now looked remarkably like a child. I gently grasped his large hand, smiling softly as I gazed at him, feeling a warm current slowly flow through my heart. You always say I'm not quite right, so which version of me do you actually like? I gazed at him with nervous anticipation. If he said he didn't like the not quite right me, then I'd dare to throw caution to the wind. Tell the truth, I like you no matter what. Even the you who's been acting strange these past few days, I like you very much. I just keep telling myself I need to quickly understand what's happening to you, and do my best to help you through it. Since you were just a little girl, you caught my eye. I've loved every version of you with all my soul. Chu Qing spoke these words while placing my hand over his heart. Shina, my mother passed away early, and I've witnessed the cruelty of human nature, tasted the fickleness of the world. My life was once shrouded in endless darkness. You are my only ray of light. The year I left for the northern battlefield, I swore to myself that if I returned alive, my first act would be to propose at the Prime Minister's residence. I know we actually had very little interaction, and my appearance doesn't seem particularly approachable or amiable. You probably never liked me at all, it was just my wishful thinking, but I had already decided back then if you refused, I would rather ask my father the emperor to forcibly arrange our marriage than let you have the chance to marry someone else, because I swore to never take a concubine in my lifetime, to do everything in my power to cherish and love only you. I was certain you would gradually come to like me. I, Chu Qing, still have that much confidence in myself, fortunately. You were willing to marry me. You could never imagine how happy I was on the day I married you. That was probably the happiest day of my life. My eyes gradually misted over, and I suddenly felt ridiculous, addicted to being someone else's shadow. Are you? Even moved to tears just hearing the real protagonist's story, still thinking about revealing the truth, asking for humiliation, or even execution. Fine then, Song Wan Xin Wan. A love that had been deeply ingrained since youth was truly unshakable by others. Just like these past few days when he clearly sensed something was off, yet he still forced himself to adapt to Song Wanxin's changes, because no matter how she was, he loved her all the same. No wonder she could act out so recklessly, without a trace of fear, while I could only forever remain her timid, shadowy figure, hidden from the light. I was immensely grateful I hadn't revealed the truth just now. Regardless of how I might be punished, how heartbroken he, who had missed 2 whole years with the one he loved, would have been, I forced a smile. Come ride horses with me and take in the breeze. Aren't you tired? Maybe another day. Not tired, it has to be today. Song Wn thought to herself that she needed to send me away quickly, even if I could later devise a way to deal with that father and daughter pair and rescue my mother. I'm afraid there will be no chance to meet Chu Qing again. And I don't want to lose this last opportunity to gallop freely with him. Ah Qing, please forgive this lowly servant for his despicable deceit. This is my final act of greed before this shadow dissipates. Very well. Chu Qing smiled in agreement, gently helping me straighten my clothes and adjust my hair. Hand in hand, we walked out of the tent and headed toward our respective horses, perhaps because the sun was blazing fiercely. My horse was drowsily napping under a tree. Only when it saw me approaching did it perk up somewhat. Would you like to change horses? Chu Qing asked. I gently stroked the horse's head. No need, I'm only accustomed to flying fish. This horse was a gift from Chu Qing after our marriage, and I named it Flying Fish, because it allowed the humble Song Xiaoyu to ride the wind and fly, briefly forgetting her own insignificance and inferiority, in 2 years' time. Flying Fish had grown from a small foal into a majestic steed. It was time to bid it a final farewell, so let it accompany me one last time. Chu Qing and I rode side by side, facing the rustling autumn wind. We exchanged a smile and gradually picked up speed. Suddenly, Flying Fish let out a mournful cry. It reared up violently, staggering wildly, galloping in circles. Then, it collapsed heavily to the ground. All this happened in an instant. I had no time to react before being thrown off with tremendous force. As the world spun around me, I heard Chu Qing's desperate roar. My heart, just as I thought I would crash headfirst into the ground, a figure came flying at lightning speed. Chu Qing's firm and warm embrace instantly cushioned my fall. The impact of our collision was too great. Chu Qing let out a muffled groan, spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. Yet his hands remained firmly in the protective posture, shielding me, utterly motionless. One tightly cradled the back of my head, the other solidly supported my waist. With the Prince of An severely wounded, his attending guards swarmed forward in haste, and I slowly approached the fallen, whimpering Flying Fish. Its right forehoof twitched uncontrollably, yet if it were merely a fall injury, there's no reason the wound would be here. I ordered a thorough examination, and before long, the guards pulled out a sharp, slender iron nail. Who has been near Flying Fish today? These guards were all trusted confidants personally selected by Prince An. I don't believe there could be any issues with the men he carefully chose. Then could the problem lie with one of the manor's servants, reporting to your highness? Apart from your ladyship spending a brief moment with Flying Fish early this morning, no one else has approached. The image of Song Wanxin's resolute smile from a few days ago, when she swore there would never be a next time, slowly surfaced in my mind. So that's how it is. I had always thought she was just a spoiled young lady, willful and selfish, nothing more, but in truth, she turned out to be just as vicious as her father. These slender iron nails, driven deep into the horse's hooves, caused a slow, dull pain, just enough to avoid obvious signs of distress, making it hard for anyone to notice. But when the horse began to gallop, the cruel pain of the iron nail piercing its flesh became unbearable for the animal. She intended to use me in a scheme of feigned suffering to win Chu Qing's sympathy and ensure his lasting aversion to letting her ride horses again, no matter how severe my fall, even if it killed me. She and her father could seize the opportunity to secretly replace me, whisk me away, and then claim the imperial physician's miraculous skills had healed her injuries. She never considered whether Chu Qing might risk his life to save me, or what dangers he might face in doing so. She wouldn't care whether Chu Qing might mistakenly kill some loyal guard during the subsequent investigation. She cared for no one but herself. Rest assured, my lady, this subordinate will surely uncover the culprit, whoever it is. We will show no mercy. The captain of the guard swore to me. He was also convinced that the villain was one of his own subordinates, after all. Why would I want to harm myself? I waved my hand dismissively. Don't inform the prince about this matter. If he asks later, just say it was heatstroke that affected flying fish. But, Your Highness, do as I say, no more words. Yes, I obey your command. From the very beginning of their marriage, Chu Qing had given orders to everyone in the estate. He said that if anything happened to him, the words of the princess would carry the same weight as his own commands. Yet in these 2 years, I have never exercised this privilege. Today is the first time. It was to protect those who remained fiercely loyal to him, to prevent them from being wrongfully executed. No matter whether I end up in the mortal world or hell in the future, I only wish for Chu Qing to be well. I hurried toward the carriage escorting Chu Qing, my mind filled with the image of him vomiting blood moments ago. I sat beside him, gripping his hand tightly as I gazed at his pale, unconscious face, a tumult of emotions churning within me. He would even risk his life for Song Wanxin. My heart aches for him. It's just not worth it. The incident happened so suddenly that naturally we wouldn't attend the evening banquet at the Prime Minister's residence anymore. I also had no time to think about switching back with Song Wanxin for the moment. I had to stay by his side to feel at ease. Chu Qing's injury was a matter of great importance, and news of it quickly reached both the Imperial Palace and the Prime Minister's residence. This time, since I, the princess consort, was still present, Song Wanxin couldn't openly appear before everyone without consequences. She had no choice but to disguise herself in the same hideous appearance I once bore. Arriving at the royal manor alongside her father, observing the undisguised contempt in their eyes directed at me, I allowed a faint smirk to curl my lips. After all, a good show is about to begin. Dismissing the crowd, Song Wanxin irritably rubbed her ugly face, tugging at her father Song Yuan's sleeve to complain. Father, she must be doing this on purpose, deliberately not coming home to swap outfits with me, forcing me to run around looking this hideous to find her. It's utterly humiliating. Make her switch back with me right now. I can't stand it for another moment. Song Yuan then glared at me with utter disgust, shouting sharply, "Hurry up already." I looked at him obediently. We've just received word from the palace. His Majesty is coming personally to visit Prince An and has already left the palace. He'll arrive shortly. My sister and I will change clothes immediately, so please rest assured, Father. I also ask that you quickly go to the manor gate to receive His Majesty. My sister will follow shortly. Song Yuan snorted in response. Tonight at the hour of high, I'll have someone take you to Shu Yenshu's place. If you dare play any tricks, I'll immediately have your mad mother's tongue ripped out and sent to you. That should silence her endless nagging. From now on, forget about being the princess consort, and don't let Shina be troubled by you anymore. Ha, troubled by me? Then let her be troubled. There's more trouble to come. I sneered inwardly but feigned meekness on the surface. I will obey Father's arrangements in all things. I only beg Father to show mercy toward my mother, who lost her senses long ago. Please do not hold it against her. I shall never forget Father's kindness and will pray for you day and night. From this night onward, whether in life or death, I will never leave Shu Zhuangyuan. Father and younger sister may rest assured, at least you know your place. Song Yuan shot me a disgusted glance before storming off with a flick of his sleeve. I returned the disgust, rolling my eyes at his retreating figure. Go wait at the door then. The emperor was currently occupied receiving envoys and had just sent word that he wouldn't be able to come for at least 2 more hours. I had already instructed everyone that no matter when the prime minister inquired, they were to say the emperor would arrive shortly. Moreover, using the excuse of the household being in chaos, no one was to pay him any attention. The afternoon sun was blazing, let him stand there and bake under its rays to disinfect himself, lest his heart remain so dark and filthy. Song Wanxin, who had been staring at me eagerly, waiting to reclaim her status as the princess consort of An, immediately caught my disdainful glance at Song Yuan and pointed at me in outrage. How dare you? You actually dare to disrespect father? I shut the door tightly, staring at her coldly with a faint sneer. What? Do you have a problem with that? Perhaps because Song Wanxin had never seen me like this before, she froze momentarily. As if she'd seen a ghost, I immediately slapped her hard across the face. The force was so great it knocked her to the ground. Blood trickled from her nose as she clutched her face tightly, her expression shifting from shock to fury. Song Xiaoyu, you wretched maid, how dare you hit me? How dare you strike me? I'm hitting you for your own good. Since you lack manners, I'll teach you a proper lesson today, sister. With that, I stepped on her hand and ground my foot down hard, making her howl in pain. Does it hurt? Can't even handle a little stomp. But when you drove nails into horseshoes, when you tried to make someone fall from their horse, did you ever think about the consequences then? I was only bullying a horse, a dumb animal. How dare you disrespect me by comparing me to livestock? Because your behavior is downright beastly. Song Xiaoyu, you treacherous wretch, so you really are plotting rebellion. No wonder father said we should disfigure your face before sending you to the Zhuangyuan's mansion. He knew you were scheming all along. I'm going to tell father right now. Forget disfigurement, we should just kill you outright. Song Wanxin, who had never suffered such humiliation in all her pampered life, spat these venomous words through gritted teeth while weeping. I sneered, what a devoted little sister you are. Thank you for tipping me off. Song Wanxin suddenly wore an expression like she'd eaten something disgusting. I was just scaring you. Dad never said that. I made it all up. I made it up. I chuckled and ignored her. I kicked her straight toward the door with full force, sending her tumbling like a log. Oh, stop kicking. Stop kicking. It hurts. Woo, it hurts so much. What a spoiled little miss. Making such a racket. I turned around, grabbed a long cleaning rag, and immediately gagged her mouth with it. Then I seized her by the collar and dragged her outside. She harmed Chu Qing so badly Song Xiaoyu, will no longer tolerate or indulge her. Just as they had once dragged me, I hauled the utterly noble yet powerless Song Wanxin all the way through the corridor and into the backyard. The guards stationed in the courtyard bowed to me. What are your orders, princess consort? This page boy I brought from the prime minister's residence lacks proper discipline. Have him practice stone lifting for half an hour, then stand on a single wooden stake for another hour. Whether he resists or slacks off, feel free to teach him a lesson, just avoid leaving any external injuries. Yes, I turned and walked away without looking back, knowing full well how venomous Song Wanxin's gaze must be upon me. Just as I expected, how dare you disrespect the princess consort? I turned to see a guard delivering a swift kick. The blow sent Song Wanxin, who had just managed to sit up, sprawling back to the ground, the impact instantly softening the defiance in her eyes. Hearing her pained moans behind me, I didn't look back. Scenes from all these years flashed through my mind, images of them wantonly hurting me. The final frame frozen on that mouthful of blood Chu Qing spat out. My eyes instantly welled up, the hatred in my heart more intense than ever before. My resolve and plan were also unshakably firm. I strode quickly toward Chu Qing's room, just in time to meet the chief guard's Xiao rushing out. Seeing the unconcealable smile on his face, the weight in my heart instantly lifted. Lady Bing, the prince has awakened. He's awake. Without bothering to respond, I rushed into the room. Chu Qing was staring toward the doorway, his brows tightly furrowed. The moment our eyes met, he let out a soft sigh of relief, the tension in his brows gradually easing. I sat beside him and tightly grasped his hand. He looked me up and down, then whispered to the imperial physicians standing nearby, "Examine the princess consort carefully, check if she's injured anywhere." "No need, I'm perfectly fine," I replied with tearful laughter. "Seeing you still care for me puts my heart at ease." He frowned, What do you mean? I deliberately touched his forehead. It means our prince and hasn't been knocked silly by the fall. Chu Qing choked slightly, his lips parting as if to speak. But in the end he just gazed at me with infinite tenderness, saying nothing. Behind us, several imperial physicians couldn't help but chuckle quietly. It must have been their first time seeing the usually ice-cold prince and display such an amiable side. The group then reported Chu Qing's injuries to me in detail before withdrawing to the outer chamber to await further orders, leaving us alone. For an ordinary person, such a heavy fall combined with the impact of my weight would likely have been fatal. Fortunately, Chu Qing was skilled in martial arts and possessed a robust constitution. Apart from the most severe rib injury, he also had extensive abrasions on his back and legs. The unconsciousness was indeed caused by the impact to the head, while the vomiting of blood resulted from ruptured airways due to the violent collision. However, after careful examination by the royal physician, it was determined that none of the injuries were serious. The next steps were to rest and heal the bone injuries, get plenty of sleep, and strictly prevent infection of the wounds. I finally let out a long sigh of relief. In other words, if he hadn't saved me, with my frail constitution, even if I didn't die, I'd have been left crippled. With a whirl of emotions, I rubbed my hands warm and gently smoothed his brows with my thumbs, sighing softly in distress. You must be in so much pain. Chu Qing kept his gaze fixed on me, offering a teasing, faint smile. What's this supposed to mean? Don't mistake me for one of those pretty boys who are all looks and no substance. TSK, here we go again. I chuckled and pinched his ear. Who would have thought the mighty prince and, revered as the god of war, could be such a petty man? Since you know how petty I am, stop batting those big watery eyes of yours and stirring up trouble everywhere. What man could withstand that gaze of yours? And when have you ever seen me staring at other women? I pressed my hand to my forehead and laughed. I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong. Please spare me, my lord. Otherwise, I'll go ask father to exile Scholar Shu to the borderlands. That should put an end to this nonsense. Chu Qing's face darkened instantly. So you think exiling him is the only way to cut off your thoughts? Ha! Should we then banish all those pretty-faced men in the capital to herd sheep at the frontier? In the end, you're just admitting you can't control yourself, aren't you? TSK. I shook my head and stood up, but he immediately grabbed me. Where are you going? Go fetch the royal physician for some sleep-inducing and calming medicine. I'll have it poured down your throat immediately. He gazed at me, his dark eyes smiling, his voice suddenly softening to a lethally tender tone. Would you really have the heart to do that? His bone structure was exquisitely handsome, though his usual sternness often masked his beauty beneath an aura of dominance and icy severity. But once he smiles, it's lethally captivating. I couldn't help but sit back beside him, gazing intently at this face I dreamed of, deliberately lifting his chin with playful audacity. With a husband who's the most beautiful man under heaven, how could I ever look at anyone else in this lifetime? Chu Qing immediately pushed me away with utter disdain in his eyes. A scholar may be killed, but not humiliated. I nuzzled against his forehead, smiling tenderly. All right. My husband isn't beautiful, my husband is heroic and mighty. Will that do? He gazed at me steadily, then suddenly his large hand gently caressed my face. Do you know, Shinna, when I first started liking you, my heart suddenly skipped a beat. I didn't want to hear a single word about him and that foolish woman, yet I couldn't help myself. When was it? Chu Qing was just about to speak when hurried footsteps suddenly sounded from outside, accompanied by a shout. The emperor has arrived. He arrived in just over an hour. I quickly rose to greet him. Suddenly, I saw Chu Qing tilt his head inward and instantly become completely still. Only an extremely faint voice reached my ears. I can't be bothered to listen to his nagging. Let's get rid of him as soon as possible. I couldn't help but laugh silently. I'd always known he was favored by the emperor, but never imagined he could be so audacious in flaunting that favor. For anyone else, such behavior would warrant execution, and what I truly envied, more than anything, was the childlike freedom with which he could act spoiled before his father. After all, I possess neither a father's love nor a mother's love. The emperor, who had rushed in hastily, grew extremely anxious upon seeing Chu Qing unconscious. The imperial physicians who followed entered with trepidation, whispering cautiously, "Your Majesty, Princeton had indeed regained consciousness earlier and suffered no life-threatening injuries. The emperor's face was dark with displeasure, yet even in his fury, he kept his voice hushed, afraid of waking Chu Qing. Broken ribs, and you say it's not a serious injury. How badly must Qing'er be hurt before you consider it serious? Your Majesty, please calm your anger. Princeton is young and strong, he will recover quickly. Then why is he still unconscious? If anything happens to Qing'er, none of you will live to see another day. Your Majesty, please calm your anger. We shall immediately examine Princeton. If they examine him, wouldn't his feigned sleep be exposed? I quickly spoke up, reporting to Father Emperor. Qing is indeed perfectly fine. He merely grew slightly drowsy after our conversation and thus fell asleep. Please do not worry, lest it distress your Majesty's imperial health. Let Qing sleep, for rest is precisely what the body needs for recovery. The imperial physicians wiped their sweat and nodded repeatedly in agreement. The consort speaks wisely. The emperor merely snorted and said no more. He gazed quietly at Chu Qing, reaching out several times as if to touch his forehead, yet ultimately fearing to disturb him, he reluctantly withdrew his hand. In the end, he tucked the quilt lightly around Chu Qing and left the room with a soft sigh. My dear Wan Xin, I have something to discuss with you, I quickly responded. Yes, Father Emperor. I closely followed the emperor as we walked toward the garden. The emperor remained silent throughout, and to break the awkwardness, I had no choice but to bring up a topic. Father went to greet His Majesty at the mansion gate early, so why isn't he accompanying the emperor now? The emperor finally spoke. According to Zhuo Xiao, Minister Song knew I would arrive late, yet insisted on waiting under the scorching sun at the gate. Before even seeing me, he succumbed to heat stroke and fainted. I did scheme against him, but this outcome surpassed all my expectations. Absolutely delightful. I bit my lip hard to keep from laughing out loud. I know Minister Song acted this way out of fear of my reprimand. After all, Qing'er was injured while saving you, but in truth, I am not an unreasonable person. Qing'er was willing to risk his life for you, which shows how important you are to him. This was something he did willingly, so neither you nor your father need blame yourselves. I was surprised. I had actually prepared myself for his scolding, so naturally, I felt an indescribable warmth in my heart. Just as I was about to express my gratitude, I suddenly heard him speak again. Over these past 2 years, the harmony and affection between you two as husband and wife have been evident, and it brings me great joy. Qing'er's happiness is the greatest wish of both me and his mother. However, he sighed deeply. Over these past 2 years, the several imperial physicians who have treated your condition have all assured me with certainty that your body is far too depleted. No matter how they try to regulate it, you simply cannot conceive a child. I froze. I've actually wanted to speak with you both for some time, but I kept deliberating on how to broach the subject appropriately. Today, when I suddenly heard Qing'er was severely injured, I was both frantic and terrified. After calming down, I resolved that this matter must be addressed immediately. I could guess what he was about to say. Indeed, Qing'er is my most beloved child, without equal. Therefore, I absolutely cannot allow him to be left without an heir. Before his mother passed away, she repeatedly implored me to find him a virtuous wife, so that he would have someone to cherish and love him throughout his life, blessed with many children, peace, and happiness. I owe his mother far too much to let her dying wish go unfulfilled. You're so intelligent, you must understand what I mean, don't you? Actually, I mentioned to him half a year ago that I wanted to arrange a concubine for him, but he showed no interest, so I didn't press the matter. Instead, I focused entirely on the physician's treatments for you, thinking that if you could quickly bear Qing'er a child or two, even if he remained stubbornly devoted to you alone, I wouldn't oppose it. The emperor looked at me, his gaze stern and resolute. But now, I can no longer tolerate his willfulness. Tomorrow, I will send over a list of candidates for you to choose 2 young ladies who suit your preferences best, to enter the household as soon as possible, whomever you select. I will not interfere. This is already the greatest concession and privilege I can grant to you both as a couple. In any case, before the new year, I must see the new concubine with child. I'll even agree to let you raise all the children born to them. If you have any requests, feel free to make them known to me, and I will do my best to accommodate. I only hope you can quickly persuade Qing'er on this matter. Wan Xin, I have treated you well, do not disappoint me." After the emperor left, I stood alone in the garden for a long time. Perhaps the sunlight was too harsh, making everything appear blurred before my eyes. Suddenly I laughed. "Song Xiaoyu, oh Song Xiaoyu, just how many wicked deeds did you commit in your past life? Why does heaven refuse to let you have any happiness?" Chu Qing's injury this time has made me utterly despise Song Wanxin. After tearing myself apart internally, I'd rather be a despicable villain who deceives Chu Qing for a lifetime than let Song Wanxin return to his side. So what if he likes Song Wanxin? Haven't I been able to bring him happiness these past 2 years? I'm despicable, I am shameless, I am treacherous, I am a cuckoo usurping the magpie's nest. But as long as Chu Qing can be happy with me, I'll willingly bear all these vile reputations. So what if I do? At worst, it's just descending into hell after death. I've already been through hell countless times in this world. What is there left to fear? So, I've made meticulous preparations. Now, I'm beyond tears. I can't possibly let him lose his descendants after I've already deceitfully replaced the one he loves. Can I? He's so good. So very good. There's no reason he should be hurt like this by me. Dazed, I walked out of the garden and returned to the room. Chu Qing, who had been pretending to sleep, had actually fallen asleep. His long lashes, thick as crow's feathers, cast faint crescents beneath his eyelids. His nose was tall and straight, his lips thin as if painted. Just watching him quietly like this, even if he doesn't interact with me at all, I'd be willing to gaze at him for a lifetime. Yet, in the end, our fate still fell just that little bit short. Chu Qing woke up after the evening meal, and the imperial physician carefully examined him once more before adding some sedative and pain-relieving medicine to help him sleep well through the night. I fed him the medicine, then intertwined my fingers with his as we nestled together and talked for a while. Soon, he drifted into a deep sleep with a faint smile on his face. I then went to the firewood shed to see Song Wanxin, lifting heavy stones and balancing on wooden stakes. These were hardly tasks suited for her delicate, ornamental nature. She must have taken quite a beating. Lying there now half dead, I patted her cheek, and when she saw it was me, her eyes blazed with fury, but with her mouth still gagged, all she could manage were muffled, indignant protests. I loosened the restraints, and as she opened her mouth to curse me, I swiftly shoved a pill inside, gripping her throat to force it down. Seeing her choke and try to spit it out, I said coolly, "Don't worry, it's not poison. I just didn't want you to lack the strength to eat. Consider it nourishment." "Pa, as if I'd believe you have such kindness. Listen here, Song." I directly pinched her mouth shut and sneered with disdain. "This isn't the Prime Minister's residence anymore. No one's here to protect you. In my territory. Haven't you had enough of the consequences for disrespecting me this afternoon? You." I patted her cheek and raised a finger to my lips. "Sure, remember your place as a servant. Even if I don't punish you, others won't let you off if they hear you shouting at me. The taste of trouble and punishment isn't pleasant, you know." Song Wanxin swallowed her anger bitterly, simply glaring at me without another word, her chest heaving like an ugly toad. I smiled and pointed to the towel and basin nearby, along with the beautiful outfit I'd brought. "Sister knows you're the capital's #1 beauty. How could I bear to see you keep playing ugly and suffering? Clean yourself up later and return to your pristine, lovely self. When night falls, I'll send you home." Song Wanxin shot me a disdainful glance. "I'm not going back. Father intends to send you away. I'm the one who'll be Anwang's consort." I sighed. "But now Princeton is severely injured and immobile. Whenever he was unwell before, I always personally took care of him, never leaving it to others. Now I'll probably have to tend to him day and night, wiping him down, applying medicine, even handling his waste. Could you really bear that? I'm only thinking of sparing you a few more days because I'm afraid you can't handle such servile work." I stood up. "If you're willing to switch now, I certainly have no objections." Song Wanxin furrowed her brows tightly. The way she struggled to think made her look utterly foolish. In the end, she just waved her hand dismissively. "Forget it then. Let's do as you said. I'll return to the manor and hide for a few days first. When he's better, I'll switch with you." "All right, I'll do as you say, little sister. But remember this is absolutely, positively the last time. No matter what happens in the future, we can never switch back again, or we'll be found out sooner or later. Your mother is locked up by father, and if you dare try any tricks again, It'll surely cost her life. Got it, I wouldn't dare. And one more thing, Song Wanxin's eyes flashed with menace. I won't let today's beating slide. I can't touch you now. But just you wait, revenge is a dish best served cold. Perhaps she was so used to bullying me that even in this situation, she fundamentally didn't see me as human at all. I smiled. Fine, calm down. Tell your father everything when we return tonight. Let him avenge you. She gave me a push. Get out quickly. I need to wash up and change. I walked out of the woodshed and locked it securely, treading under the moonlight. I slowly made my way back to my room. I sat beside Chu Qing, silently watching him like that, for a long, long time. It wasn't until the hour of 9 to 11 p.m., that people from the Prime Minister's residence came to fetch her. I veiled the unconscious Song Wanxin and personally loaded her into the carriage bound for the Zhuangyuan's residence. I stuffed a thick stack of silver notes into the coachman's hand, overjoyed. He assured me he wouldn't harm a single hair on Song Wanxin's head and would deliver her safely to the Zhuangyuan's residence. I couldn't let Song Wanxin's face be disfigured because that face of hers still had uses for me. In the dead of night, I waited silently, knowing the show was about to begin. True enough. Just past the hour of the ox, the courtyard erupted in clamor. Soon came the voice of Maid Yuanshuang, anxious yet cautiously probing. My lady, are you in your chamber? I curled the corners of my lips and let out a long sigh. Song Xiaoyu, go ahead and take revenge for all the humiliation you've suffered over these years. Chu Qing beside me was still sound asleep. I had secretly increased his medication dosage, fearing tonight's commotion might disturb his rest. I rose and gently kissed his forehead. I hope, Chu Qing, you won't be disappointed in me. I draped my outer garment over my shoulders and tiptoed out of the room. Yueshuang saw me and repeatedly patted her chest in relief, urgently pulling me aside. Your Highness, something terrible has happened. The Grand Princess barged into the manor with a bound woman and is causing a huge scene in the front hall, demanding to see you. She's been hurling all sorts of insults at you. The crucial thing is, the woman she brought looks exactly like you. I feigned surprise and immediately quickened my pace toward the front hall. Before I even arrived, I could already hear the loud voice of the Grand Princess. Zhuo Xiao, do you have a death wish? How dare you block my way? Get out of my sight. Today, I will go to Ninth Brother's room and drag him out of bed. I'll make him see for himself what kind of trash his beloved Song Wanxin really is. Take a good look, all of you. Isn't this your shameless princess? What audacious nerve Song Wanxin has. Daring to sneak off in the middle of the night to frolic with the man I fancy while my ninth brother is injured and getting caught red-handed by me. Today, I'll make sure my ninth brother sees this wretch for what she truly is. At dawn, we'll drag this slut before His Majesty the Emperor and have her head. Her words abruptly cut off as she caught sight of me, freezing in place as if turned to stone. Every face in the room wore identical expressions of astonishment. I turned a blind eye and spoke softly. Please, Your Highness, consider that my husband is injured and needs quiet rest. I beg your patience. The Grand Princess stared at me intently for what felt like an eternity, then suddenly turned to look at Song Wanxin kneeling on the ground in disarray. You all, I sighed. Family scandals shouldn't be aired in public, but I've ended up making a spectacle before Her Highness the Princess. With those words, I strode swiftly toward Song Wanxin and delivered a powerful kick. Worthless creature, why wouldn't you listen to my advice? Knowing full well that Xu Yangshu already belongs to Her Highness, why did you still provoke him? Song Wanxin's eyes shot daggers at me. You, Song Xiaoyu, how dare you, scheme against me? I let out a cold laugh and waved my hand. Zhuo Xiao, beat her until she dares not spout such nonsense again. As you command, Princess Consort. Zhuo Xiao stepped forward and yanked the fallen Song Wanxin up, then proceeded to slap her left and right without mercy. At first, Song Wanxin's curses could still be heard, but gradually, she finally fell silent. I gestured politely to the still-dazed Grand Princess. Please take a seat, Your Highness, and allow me to explain in detail. This is my father's illegitimate daughter, my elder sister Song Xiaoyu, because her mother happened to be my mother's half-sister, my aunt. The two looked remarkably alike, and since we sisters were born in the same year and month, our appearances coincidentally resembled that of twins. Originally, My father loved only my mother and had no affection for my aunt. It was only because he mistook my aunt for my mother during a family banquet while drunk that she became pregnant, forcing him to take her as a concubine. This incident created a rift between my once loving parents. My mother grew increasingly despondent, her health deteriorating day by day, and my father directed all his anger toward the mother and daughter, especially when my father noticed that as my sister grew older, she looked exactly like me. His disgust and fury became uncontrollable. He forced my sister to dress as a boy and always present herself as a servant, so no one ever knew I had an elder sister. After my mother passed away, my father was consumed by grief, and his doting on me grew even more excessive. At the same time, his hatred for my sister and aunt became increasingly severe, yet I've always remembered our sisterly bond, and over the years, I've secretly shown special care for both my sister and aunt. That Xu Yangshu was my father's student, born into poverty, which made him and my sister kindred spirits. After I accidentally discovered their love affair, my sister begged me to keep it from our father and help her escape, so she secretly eloped with Xu Yangshu to his hometown in Qingju. I took a sip of tea and paused for a moment. Though I was narrating these events in Song Wanxin's voice, my heart ached terribly, so terribly. In truth, it was my mother who had been the innocent one all along. Song Yuan sullied my mother's virtue while drunk, yet he resented her for damaging his marital relationship. He tormented her until she went mad, and repeatedly tried to kill me. How could there be such a shameless person in this world? I struggled to contain my fury. Song Wanxin, lying on the ground, kept muttering curses at me. She's lying, she's talking nonsense. Woo-woo, I'm father's beloved daughter. She's the lowly Song Xiaoyu. Everyone frowned upon hearing her vulgar words. I smiled and shrugged. See, it's always been like this, resenting my father's favoritism. She harbors grudges against me too. No matter how kind I am to her, she never shows the slightest gratitude and always fantasizes about swapping places with me. Including this sudden news of the emperor betrothing the eldest princess to Xu Yangshu, I immediately sent her a letter, repeatedly warning her not to rush back to the capital and cause trouble. Everything had to wait until Xu Yangshu and the eldest princess had discussed and settled the matter before deciding her fate. Who knew she'd still sneak back to the capital, bold enough to secretly meet with Xu Yangshu? I let out a long sigh. Since things have come to this, I can neither help nor do more than duty requires. I leave it entirely to the Grand Princess to decide. The Grand Princess's stunned mind finally started working again, and she suddenly smiled at me. Song Wanxin, oh Song Wanxin, do you know I've always disliked you? Why are you more beautiful than me? Better at riding, archery, poetry, and prose? How could you receive Ninth Brother's exclusive favor and Father Emperor's admiration, with everything going more smoothly for you than for me? Do you know how thrilled I was when I caught you and Xu Yangshu in the act tonight? Ha ha ha, I thought I finally had the chance to get rid of you. Even if the Ninth Prince refuses to kill you, from now on you'll be branded as a wanton woman and despised for life. But just then, the Grand Princess's expression twisted with rage as she rose to her feet and viciously kicked Song Wanxin. Just then your identical twin sister had to appear and ruin everything. She looked down at Song Wanxin with a cold sneer. Fine, if Song Wanxin has made me unhappy and I can't punish her, so be it, then I'll just take it out on this worthless sister instead. Song Wanxin trembled in fear, stammering incoherently. Why, you mustn't listen to her nonsense. I have no grudge against you. All those things that humiliated you in the past were her doing, not me at all. I can't even ride a horse. I can't even lift a bow. How could I possibly make you lose to me? The debt is hers to pay. Don't let her deceive you. The crowd burst into mocking laughter, and I could only smile helplessly at the Grand Princess. My elder sister speaks truly. I have indeed offended the Grand Princess. As for all those past competitions with Her Highness, I beg for her magnanimous forgiveness. It was all due to my youthful arrogance and lack of wisdom. It shall never happen again. After speaking, I solemnly bowed in formal apology, under the watchful eyes of the crowd. The Grand Princess had no choice but to wave her hand dismissively. Enough, enough, these are all matters of the distant past. She suddenly changed the subject and pointed at Song Wanxin. But you, I will never let you off lightly. Do you know what crime it is to collude with the Grand Consort? Here, this princess will surely skin you alive and make you suffer. Song Wanxin, both furious and terrified, cried until she was nearly out of breath. "Woo-woo, no, Daddy, Daddy, save me!" Suddenly, someone shouted, "The Prime Minister has arrived." Song Yuan walked in with a weary expression. After catching them in the act, the Grand Princess had brought Song Wanxin to the royal residence and also sent someone to summon the Prime Minister. Looking at Song Yuan, I immediately rushed forward with tears in my eyes. Mimicking Song Wanxin's tone, "Daddy, you must stand up for Shina." Song Xiaoyu was disobedient and angered the princess at the Zhuangyuan residence. And now she's even turning the tables, hurling insults and harming Shina in every way. "Woo-woo, Daddy, Shina has been waiting for you. Why did you take so long to come?" Song Yuan immediately held me with heartache. "Don't panic, Shina, Daddy is here." Song Wanxin was practically fuming with rage upon hearing this. "Daddy, don't be fooled by that wretch. I am Shina, I am." Song Yuan was startled, his brows furrowing as he turned to look at me. I tilted slightly to the side, giving Song Yuan a fierce glare from an angle hidden from the others, though my voice dripped with feigned grievance. "Father, listen to this. My sister hasn't learned anything else but spends all her time fantasizing about swapping identities with me. If Father won't stand up for Shina in this matter, I'll go straight to His Majesty and I Ching to seek justice. How could there be any doubt about me, the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister and the 9th Prince's consort?" The esteemed Princess An, the Grand Princess, stood nearby, arms crossed, her laughter cold. "Oh my, what a grave matter indeed. Indulging in delusions of grandeur is one thing, but openly slandering my 9th brother's wife as an impostor, that's a crime warranting the extermination of 9 generations. The Prime Minister is truly blessed to have such a troublesome illegitimate daughter." Song Yuan now understood everything, his expression looking as if he'd swallowed a dead fly. He forced himself to nod stiffly. "The Grand Princess speaks wisely. This humble official has failed in his family's education." Then he turned to me with a plastered smile. "Rest assured, truth cannot be falsified. Your father won't let her spout nonsense anymore." With that, he put on a fierce expression and roughly yanked Song Wanxin up. "Ungrateful wretch. Come home with me this instant." Wait a moment, wait a moment." The Grand Princess and I spoke simultaneously. She curled her lips at me and said, "You go first." I expressed my thanks and said, "Father must not take sister away. Sister has committed a grave mistake this time. Matters like harassing the Grand Princess's consort involve the Grand Princess's dignity and must be handled by her. Otherwise, Father would be showing too little regard for the Grand Princess." Song Yuan swallowed his humiliation, gritting his teeth as he acknowledged the rebuke. "It was my oversight. Indeed, it was my oversight." The Grand Princess snorted lightly. "Then Prime Minister, you may take your leave. This matter no longer concerns you. After all, doesn't the Prime Minister also despise this illegitimate daughter bitterly? Why trouble yourself with her life or death?" Song Yuan wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, bowing and scraping in agreement. "Your Highness speaks wisely." Then, this humble official takes his leave. Song Wanxin watched the retreating figure of her savior and burst into loud sobs. "Don't go, Father, don't abandon me." I saw Song Yuan's footsteps hesitate, then immediately ordered Zhuo Xiao in a stern, commanding tone. He deliberately made sure Song Yuan heard every word clearly. "Gag her mouth, keep beating her, don't stop until she's obedient." "Yes, Your Highness." The sound of slaps echoed through the air. Song Yuan's figure, now devoid of its former arrogance, staggered step by step as he left the royal residence. He didn't know that upon returning to his residence, he would receive another warning letter from me. "If you want your precious daughter back, exchange her for my mother. Dare to lay a finger on my mother, and I'll chop off Song Wanxin's hand without hesitation." As the farce concluded, my heart swelled with immense satisfaction. The pent-up grievances of many years were finally released this very night. The crowd dispersed at my gesture, and I nodded to the princess. "If the princess trusts me, let me temporarily detain my sister." Whether she's taken to the princess's residence or the Zhuangyuan's mansion, with the princess's wedding approaching, it could easily spark rumors. After the princess's wedding, I will hand her over to you, and then she will be at your mercy. The princess crossed her arms, smiling as she studied me for a long moment before suddenly leaning close to my ear. "My dear sister-in-law, you've truly orchestrated quite the spectacle." "That's right. It was me who secretly sent the letter to the Grand Princess, asking her to catch the adulterers at the Zhuangyuan mansion at midnight. After Chu Qing was injured and fell unconscious, in my rage, I set up this trap. I never expected the Grand Princess to be less arrogant and reckless than I imagined, but I'm not afraid of her, no matter how much she suspects. In a few days, no one will be able to find me. What is there to fear? Your Highness jests. I've been exhausted caring for my husband, had my rest disturbed for no reason, and been driven to distraction by my worthless sister. Must I now also be misunderstood? The Grand Princess laughed heartily. Song Wanxin, you're quite something. Though I don't know what exactly your sister has done to offend you, I've always detested such pretentious, hypocritical bitches myself. Haha, I like this ruthless streak of yours. As she spoke, she walked away, waving her hand behind her without turning. Let bygones be bygones. I breathed a sigh of relief and replied with a smile, thank you, elder sister. She was utterly surprised and turned back. Haha, I'll gladly accept being called elder sister. By the time I returned to the room, Chu Qing was still fast asleep. I quietly lay down beside him, nestling against his chest, listening silently to the rhythm of his heartbeat. I know that such warmth will soon no longer belong to me. Let me indulge myself for just a few more days. I ordered Song Wanxin to be locked in the dungeon and instructed everyone that this matter concerned the dignity of the Grand Princess, so not a whisper of it was to be leaked. The prince is recuperating, and to avoid troubling him, we'll keep it from him for now. Once he's fully recovered, I'll personally tell him. The people in the prince's residence were all carefully selected by the emperor and Chu Qing, each one utterly reliable. Thus, when I gave the order, naturally no one dared to disobey. The next day, Song Yuan came to my door to negotiate. Seeing his beloved daughter suffer, he wished he could flay me alive, but with the Grand Princess and I standing united, he could grind his teeth to dust yet remain powerless against me.